welcome to Health Options. I am Rabi Abdullah. Do you know that stress that is left unchecked can lead to many health problems such as high blood pressure, heart diseases, obesity, and diabetes? These constitute what is known as metabolic syndrome or disorder. Nature's Scanner on this edition of the program shall educate you on the effects of stress on health, tips on how to recognize the symptoms, and the best way to manage stress. Pharmacists are critical for attaining the goal of universal health coverage and equitable access to essential health services, particularly in relation to access to medicines and medicines expertise. The key role that the field of pharmacy plays in the health sector underscores the need for professionalism and respect for its code of conduct. This is Health Options, and our focus on this segment is quality assurance in the pharmacy profession. And my guest is the Chairman, Pharmacists Council of Nigeria, Professor Ahmed Tijani Mora. Welcome to Health Options, Prof.
Thank you, Ravi.
All right. Ailments are diagnosed, drugs are prescribed, and of course the next thing will be to administer drugs for treatment. Let's start on that note. What is the place of pharmaceuticals in healthcare delivery?
Well, let me quote the late former president of the United States of America, John F. Kennedy, who said that if there were no drugs, if there were no pharmacists to produce drugs or to dispense drugs, it would have been necessary to invent one. So that shows you that pharmaceutical products are very important in healthcare delivery system. Now, having said that, there have been two focuses as far as pharmaceutical products are concerned. The pharmacist manufactures the pharmaceutical products, and he's responsible for the dispensing of the pharmaceutical products to the patient or to the user. And again, the pharmacist is also responsible, clinically speaking, in the area of clinical pharmacy, in how the patient's body responds to the drug that is administered to him. That is, in essence, the aspect of clinical pharmacy where the pharmacist observes the drug-drug interaction, the food-drug interaction, the diagnostic reagent interaction with drugs, and also even disease-drug interaction. And all these are important. Yes.
I know the pharmacists are referred to as men of honor.
Yes.
Why are you referred to as men of honor?
The survey was carried out sometimes in Australia, and the pharmacists came next, so only second to the clergymen in terms of trust, because the clergymen are trusted naturally. So the next person is the pharmacist. Wow. You don't ask. Once the pharmacist dispenses the medication to you, once he counsels you, whatever he gives you, you just take it.
Wow. So that is where ensuring that everything is top-notch all the time comes in.
Yes.
Professionalism.
That's right.
Ensuring quality.
That's right.
At all levels.
At all levels.
So there have been issues in the past, revolving around the conduct of the pharmacist. In terms of quality assurance and entrenching discipline, what have you got to tell us? One,
all drugs must be dispensed or produced in a pharmaceutical premises, which are under the supervision of a pharmacist. Secondly, all drugs must be registered with NAFDAC. Thirdly, prescription drugs or narcotics, prescription drugs especially, can only be dispensed upon the presentation of a prescription signed by a doctor or a dentist. And narcotics and psychotropic substances can only be dispensed with using poison disposal register. And also, the drugs on the prescription cannot be dispensed to the patient or user beyond the quantities that has been prescribed by the doctor or dentist. And again, pharmaceutical products have life span. They have expiry dates. You cannot give beyond expiry dates. And again, thirdly, lastly, pharmaceutical premises can only be accessed for inspection by pharmaceutical inspectors, by pharmacists.
Okay.
So these are peculiarities that we have to take into consideration.
it's about you as custodians
Right.
now. I want to know what do you have in place towards ensuring professionalism and discipline within the practice of the profession?
Now, professionalism has to do with skill, expertise, and competence. And that has been entrenched in the mandatory continuing professional development program of the Pharmacies Council. Every pharmacist must subject himself or herself to the CPD, continuing professional development, because a professional, a pharmacist cannot give what he or she doesn't have. Pharmacy is a dynamic profession, just like any other healthcare profession anyway. I mean, let's take it now. Last year, this time, there was nothing like COVID. Now we have to learn COVID. We have to know about COVID. We have to know about the character of the virus. The component of discipline is there because there's code of conduct and there's also the ethics of the profession. That's what makes it a profession, because it is specialized knowledge of health.
We live in a time whereby, you know, drugs are dispensed online, the one that is popularly referred to as internet pharmacy or something like that. No, then you have the registered premises. Are you worried about all of this?
Now, the issue of the conventional dispensing within pharmaceutical premises is what everybody knows about. And there are pharmaceutical inspectors at the level of Pharmaceutical Inspection Committee in the states that are chaired by the directors of pharmaceutical services, who are members of the governing council of Pharmacies Council of Nigeria anyway, that make regular inspection with our staff of Pharmacies Council in all the states, in retail pharmacy practices, in petty medicine stores, and also wholesalers. Now, there are also the staff of the inspection and monitoring of the Pharmacies Council that are responsible for inspecting premises where pharmaceutical manufacturing takes place. So these are in place to ensure that there's proper quality control. In other words, the actual should be seen to conform to preset standard. That is there. Anything beyond that will attract sanctions. That's why the Pharmacies Council authored the book, the 4-part compendium of the assurance of pharmaceutical care in Nigeria. This is the handwork of the council in terms of standardizing and defining the component of practice that should be available in every registered pharmacy in Nigeria. And that is a guide to the pharmacists during the practice. So in other words, if any practitioner, any pharmacist falls short of expectation in terms of the definition, subjectively speaking, so to speak, in the 4-part compendium, he will be subject to sanction.
Okay. So I'm sure you're aware of the online sale of drug and dispensing. What's the council doing?
The council is a regulatory agency, and we talk about issues that comes up. As I speak to you now, we have already concluded the framework and the drafting of a gazette that will address the issue of online dispensing. There are certain things that are associated with online dispensing that actually bothers one. That is in terms of confidentiality of the patient. You see, in terms of professionalism, there is this component of professionalism, of confidentiality, naturally. If one walks into a conventional pharmacy, naturally, the pharmacist cannot divulge to anyone the kind of pharmaceutical care that has been given to another patient, except to a co-healthcare professional. So these are issues that have been put in place, actually, in the gazette being put together to address the issue of online dispensing. It's an idea whose time has come, and we cannot say that it cannot be done. It's been done all over the country, all over the world, and Nigeria cannot be an exception. So we are putting final touches to a gazette that will address the issue of online dispensing. But I've just mentioned to you now one area of that we are a little bit uncomfortable about. It's confidentiality, but we are getting towards that.
Okay, so what about the issue of, you know, the authenticity of the drug that is being dispensed, whether it's fake or substandard? How do you get to know?
Every day, there is correspondence between NAFDAC and Pharmacies Council. NAFDAC registers drugs. Pharmacies Council registers pharmaceutical premises. Now, I've already put in place an ad hoc committee, drug safety committee, which will now look into the issue of all the drugs being registered by NAFDAC on a daily basis, so that we have this compendium within ourselves. And any drug which does not carry NAFDAC's registration number, there will be a problem there in dispensing that kind of medication. So anyone operating an online pharmacy, so to speak, must ensure that the drugs that are dispensed are within those drugs that are registered by the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control.
Okay, as custodians of drugs, what's your take on the rising incidence of drug abuse in the society?
Yes, the rising incidence of drug abuse in society is another area. There are two components to it. There are those categories of drug with substances processed that are being abused, like the narcotics, the psychotropic drugs. And there are those unprocessed, that is the marijuana, those from plant origin and those from inhalation. We are really bothered about that. Pharmacies Council, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration Control, and the NDLEA are coming together to ensure that these three drug regulatory agencies put in place a policy and a framework to ensure that there is demand reduction. The whole thing has to do with demand reduction in the first instance, so that it's not available. Secondly, we have to ensure that the outlets for accessing these pharmaceutical products, especially the conventional ones, are such that you cannot just walk in and get pharmaceutical products containing addictive substances just over the counter without a prescription and so on. So this, I think that we go, whenever my inspectors go into any premises, they check the poison disposal register to find out how do you dispose of the poisons. But coming back to what you said earlier on about online, we are taking it larger to the extent that we want to institute a regime of computerizing the entire drug system in the country, so that from the manufacturer, there are two sources of drugs: manufacturers in the country and importers, to the wholesaler. And there are these two sources, there are two users. That is community pharmacy, where we retail, and also hospital pharmacy are also linked up with the chain, so that down the chain you can now trace any pharmaceutical product, especially if the formulation has been defective. You can make recalls immediately. I'm sure you are aware of certain medications in the past that had caused lives among Nigerians, because the institution of recall, instant recall, is not there. But once that is in place, it will be easy. Any defective formulation can be recalled with ease.
The emergence of COVID-19, you agree with me that just like it has affected almost every strata of human existence, the pharmaceutical world is not an exception. And the business of pharmacies, just received a boom, and everybody seems to be going into that business. At some point, I thought of setting up one, but
you're welcome.
No, that I want to me being a quack, but I was told that if I could get a professional licensed pharmacist, could run a pharmacy for me.
And you can do wholesale anyway.
Okay, so how do you, because I know in the past you used to do a lot of enforcement a lot, you go around, how is that happening in this modern time? Well,
actually, you have said something that is very critical to us. Actually, we have been trying to get across with the relevant bodies to ensure that we are up to it, because we want to ensure maximum inspection all over the country now, because we don't want people to take advantage of the emergency nature of the situation by producing fake or substandard products, especially products as simple as hand sanitizers, items as basic as ascorbic acid, as basic as paracetamol tablets, and so on, because of the fact that these things are in demand now. Immune boosting pharmaceutical products.
Because that's vitamin C.
Vitamin C, yes,
don't say vitamin C.
Okay, sorry, vitamin C, okay, that's right. Certain persons, either pharmacists or charlatans, might take advantage of this particular emergency situation that we are in and begin to produce substandard or fake pharmaceutical products. So we are putting in place a framework whereby we intensify the inspection in all drug outlets and flush out those that are contravening the laws of the country. So we are addressing that issue, seriously speaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
But would you say that we'll have enough pharmacists?
Well, I mean, the issue
Registered
of having enough pharmacists, we don't have actually, short of the WHO requirement, but just like we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough nurses. The country is expanding. We have 200 million population. And those on our register are just about 25,000 or thereabout, and some are outside the country anyway. So, but more and more pharmacy schools have been opened.
Okay.
And the accreditation is going on smoothly, and compliance is there. So I can say, without mincing words, that the pharmacy world, the institutions for training of pharmacists is actually getting a boom, because I remember in 2003 there were only 9 universities with Bachelor of Pharmacy degree programs in 2003. Now, 17 years later, we are talking about 25 schools now.
The question I put to you on drug abuse.
We are doing some work. I'm a member of the National Institute, and the Alumni Association of the National Institute is putting a paper for presentation to the authorities as our own contribution in tackling drug abuse. It's a very serious problem, and the issue is that make it less available, make it such that it will be difficult for people to access this drug. That's why I mentioned the issue of computerization and so on. Once there is demand reduction regime put in place, it will be difficult for the addicts and would-be addicts to access this, especially those that are processed, the conventional ones from the orthodox pharmaceutical products. The unorthodox one, the same thing. NDLE are doing a lot on that. In the northern part of the country, there is a misconception about the youth, among the youth. And some uninformed persons do not look at that composition. Oh, I don't take alcohol. But you take tramadol, which is 250 milligrams, beyond the therapeutic dose of 50 to 100 milligrams, for instance. Tramadol hydrochloride for pain alleviation. You take codeine for suppression of cough, beyond the therapeutic dose to get high. The same thing. So there is the responsibility of a clergyman, both among the Christians and the Muslims, to address these issues squarely in the churches and in the mosques. Okay. That these things are prohibited. The fact that you don't take alcohol per se, as far as the Islamic religion is concerned, you are not helping yourself if you take intoxicants. Yeah.
On a final note, can you just talk to Nigerians on the issue of self-medication, which is another problem?
Self-medication is a very dangerous phenomenon, especially when it has to do with antibiotics. Because what you are doing, not only to yourself, is by propagating bacteria or microorganisms that are resistant to that particular institution. Look at what happens to chloroquine. Look at what happens to other chemotherapeutic agents that were for instance, items that you use in prophylaxis. So these items have now been subjected to, exposed to very low dosage of the medication, to the extent that the bacteria or the microorganisms have become resistant to it. So you need to expose the microorganisms to higher doses for it, and eventually over time it becomes resistant. It becomes resistant, it's of no use.
Just not working
Just
at all.
not working.
Thank you so much, Professor Ahmed Tijani Mora, for coming on Health Options.
Thank you very much, Ravi.
Stress symptoms can affect your body, thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Therefore, recognizing some of the common symptoms of stress can help you manage them better. Let's get more on this from our nature scanner.
Stress actually is an unconscious, response of the body to pressure or the demand on the body. Naturally, stress is a good, response, because there is pressure on the body and there is demand for the body to actually, respond. Take, for example, as we're in the room, if a tiger comes in now, you see that I have that energy to really fly out. This is what we call the fight or flight, syndrome. This explains, the first aspect of, stress, that the body has to adjust quickly. You see that the eyes, the part of of the eyes that is known as the pupils actually dilates, and then you have that boosted, energy. This is mainly from, adrenaline, secretion. It gives us a boost and we can escape. Then the second mechanism of action is what you call the hypothalamic adrenal response. This kind of takes a little bit, longer, because it involves the stimulation from the brain, the part of the brain known as the hypothalamus, and then there is a secretion of, a hormone known as cortisol in the adrenal, glands. This gives the body, it kind of actually mobilizes the body glucose. And you know that glucose is the source of, energy. Then glucose is now metabolized to give us energy to respond to that situation. However, if stress becomes, prolonged, it has some ill effects. Loss of a loved one can put you under stress. You can have stress at, work. You can also have stress due to, illness. You can have stress due to, your lifestyle can actually generate, stress if you're not able to sleep very well. Prolonged stress can bring about sicknesses like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, then you would be, and then depression. There are various ways of, managing stress, starting with, exercise. It's recommended on average basis that we should exercise at least for 30 minutes every day. And if you cannot do that, at least 30 minutes every other day. Also, the kind of diet that we eat can also help reduce our propensity of coming under stress. And it is strongly encouraged that 50% of our diet that will help reduce stress should be green vegetables and fruits. Meditation is when we actually helps us to actually refocus our thoughts. So good sleep is also very, very important, because lack of sleep can actually make you feel very uncomfortable. And stress actually induces insomnia. That is what we call lack of, sleep. The sex drive in you. And when I talk about sex drive, it's both men and women. Women and men who are stressed, they lose interest, in sex, or they cannot perform, optimally. A form of exercise that is very much encouraged is that raising of legs on the wall just before you go to bed. I do this 15 minutes before I go to bed. But the best time to go to bed is 10. So you see that from 9:30 you start getting yourself prepared, to go to bed. We're very much encouraged to be walking, barefooted, like in the evenings. You are encouraged, to walk outside, the house on bare ground. This encourages what we call grounding. That is, the negative charges from the ground actually comes into your body, and they're able to recharge you, and they're able to relax you. Meditation also helps with the repair of the DNA. There is a particular part of the DNA that actually, if it gets worn out by stress, it makes you age faster. You see that your skin becomes wrinkled. You should also be taking lots of water, at least 2 to 3 liters of water in a day. All this combined will really make you do very well. Somebody can say that, oh, I'm having headache. You're having headache because it's the stress that induces that headache. Rather than go ahead and be focusing on treating this with medication, and here again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people should not be treated for diabetes and hypertension, but see what is the root cause of this. What is causing this? So you see that if you eliminate the root cause, which is, stress, you will live much of healthy life.
And that's the size of our package on this week's episode of Health Options. Observing the safety protocols against COVID-19 ensures your safety and that of people around you. A quick reminder also that you can go to our YouTube channel to watch the upload of these and other episodes of the program. Email us for your comments and contributions at healthoptions@nta.gov.ng. My name is Rabi Abdullah. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.